Hi, it's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to Career Coach Office Hours. I have to try connect. There we go. LinkedIn didn't immediately connect, so I had to start over and say, it's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to Career Coach Office Hours. Tuesdays at noon Eastern, I field questions from people live about job search because I believe that the skills needed to find a job are different from those needed to do a job. And if you've got a question for me, put your job search questions into chat so I can answer them live. Folks need help. It's a complicated job market, and folks are struggling, particularly on LinkedIn. And I say that for the simple reason that most of the jobs that have been created in the country are not for college-educated professionals. And the result is many of you are suffocating with frustration. No results. Many of you aren't even getting interviews, and you don't know why. So one thing I'll mention to you is I do this show Tuesdays at noon Eastern, and if you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, send a connection request to me at linkedin.com/in/thebiggamehunter. Mention that you watch this. I like knowing I'm helping some folks. Once we're connected, your network is going to be a lot larger than it is now because my first level connections become your second level connections. Okay. So I'll also mention JobSearch.Community, where I have video courses, books, and guides to help you with your search, plus access to me, answering questions, coaching you, getting on with you to help you more regularly. I'll also say, well, let me phrase it this way. I released episode 3000. Yes, you heard that right. 3000 of No BS Job Search Advice Radio today. In it, I have an offer for membership that runs up until midnight of July 16th, 2024. I'm saying the year in case someone watches this in the future. And it'll be 50% off. So pick up the coupon code by listening to the show wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. No BS Job Search Advice Radio, episode 3000, and that's what the title is today, 3000. It happens to be the last episode of the show. I decided to sunset it. The image for the show is a curtain coming down or a curtain on the stage that's been lowered. And I thought it was a fun way to do it. I launched the show on November 20th, 2010. 3,000 episodes later, it's time to put it to bed. So listen to the show. It's 3.5 minutes long, which is the typical length I've been doing for quite some time. There's also a great archive of material that you can pick up from it that will help you with your search. So again, No BS Job Search Advice Radio, episode 3000. Listen or watch the show and pick up the coupon code at the end of it for half off at JobSearch.Community. Now, I've received a number of questions from people in advance of the show. And as I always mention, if you can't make an episode live, you can always mark that you'll attend because it's Career Coach Office Hours and the date on Tuesday that you can pick it up on YouTube and LinkedIn. And from there, you can send me your questions on LinkedIn through that URL. You can message me with your questions in advance of the show. But because you mark that you'll attend, you'll get the notice of the replay from LinkedIn, and you'll be able to watch it. So that's my encouragement. If you can't make a show live, always feel free to send me your question in advance and mark that you'll attend and watch the replay. So I did receive a number of questions beforehand. That's interesting. Okay, never mind. My apologies. I misunderstood something that was displayed in front of me. Oops, sorry. I did receive a number of questions in advance. And the first one, bear with me, please, because I like to put these into chat. Oh, come on. There we go. What is external recruiting? Here we go. As you can tell, I also do these on Facebook, but I think it's easier to find the show on YouTube and LinkedIn. So external recruiting is really a very simple idea. It's the idea is you're looking for talent outside of your organization. Internal recruiting is looking for people within your organization to fill a position. So external translates into, I'm running ads, I'm using LinkedIn, I'm working with third-party recruiters, or some combination thereof in order to find someone to fill a position. Internal is I'm looking at a variety of different internal metrics and measures to determine whether there's someone internal to the organization who might fill this position. That's it. By the way, how do you like this new Zoom background? I did something a little bit different. I went for a lighter color, a conference room effect. And tell me what you think. Do you like it? Would you rather I go back to something I've previously used? Like to see something different? Let me know, okay? Now, the next question is, I want to see someone's LinkedIn profile without them knowing. Can I change my settings to private, then view their profile, and then make it visible again? The answer is yes. You can change your settings to private, view the profile, and then make it visible again. Now, it seems as though what you want to be doing is, for you seem to like the idea of private settings. So you don't want people seeing you online. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm confused here. You always keep them public. And when you want someone to see, don't not see that you've viewed their profile, make them private. Look at the profile, and then you can make it visible again. However, I've got to ask you a question. What difference does it make if someone sees your profile and sees that you looked at their profile? They will see where someone worked, someone who works at, fill in the blank name of the firm. And if you don't want them to see that because you're interviewing with them or you're trying to interview with them, well, you've taken away one of the nice little triggers that LinkedIn happens to like. And frankly, a lot of managers like that you took the time to look at their profile, and now you're reaching out to them. So it's your choice, obviously. But I always wonder why people don't want me to know that they looked at their profile. Do they think I'm now suddenly going to spam them relentlessly? No, of course not. So as a job hunter, I always encourage people, keep the profile open, public, so people can see it, because the worst thing that can happen to you is they respond back, as I used to do when I did recruiting, and they send you a message that says, LinkedIn told me you looked at my profile. Was there something in particular you were looking for there? Not a terrible thing. But again, it's your choice. Yes, you can do what you say, or what you propose there. And I think, without question, if that's what you want, you can clearly do it. Okay. Here's the next question. By the way, I don't think the show is going to be quite as long today as it normally is, only because holiday. I'm not sure how many people are going to be joining, and that's going to affect how long the show goes. Okay. What does it mean when a recruiter tells me or tells you they hired internally but may have another position in the future, so it's a no for this job but not a complete no from the company? Exactly what it says. They filled the position that you were trying to get in for. Okay, that's part one. Part two, something may open up. It may not open up, but something may open up. So this job is gone, but there may be opportunities in the future. There may not be opportunities in the future. So don't hold out for this particular job. Keep pushing. Keep trying to get other interviews. There's no guarantee you will ever interview with this company, let alone for this type of position. And the result winds up being, don't hold your breath. It may never come to pass. So what it means is exactly what it says there. They hired someone internally, something may open up, or they think something may open up. So this position, no go, but something may open up. So it's not a complete rejection from the firm. Not a big deal, okay? So I just want to remind you, JobSearch.Community, see, got to get there. JobSearch.Community, where I've got video courses, books, and guides to help you. There's free stuff on the homepage to help. And I want to encourage you, go over to the site. There's a lot there for free that will help you. Also, put your questions about job search into chat so I can answer them live. And of course, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/thebiggamehunter. Okay. So here's the next one. What does it mean? There we go. What does it mean to have an absolutely spotless personal background when applying for a job? What it tells me is that this firm is going to do a copious background check. They may check not just simply references, but they may be doing a criminal background check. They may do a financial background check. There's a lot of types of checks that a firm can do to determine whether or not your background is pristine, spotless. And why do they care about financial backgrounds? Well, people who are in debt often do illegal things, especially if you work at a financial services firm. So the long and the short of it is they don't want any hiccups. They don't want any problems with the people that they hire. They want to hire people with a spotless, that's their choice of terms, spotless background, no criminality, no financial issues, no personal issues, no convictions, no illegal activity, stuff along those lines. That's a simple way of expressing it, but that's ultimately what it comes down to and more. I know I've got a Kindle book on the subject available on Amazon. I don't recall the title, but it relates to background checks. I'm pretty sure it's also available at JobSearch.Community with any of the memberships. If you become an insider at any of the tiers, you receive access to that as well. Okay. So here's another question I received before the show. What is the meaning behind recruiters sending messages asking for more details about oneself? Easy. Please understand, I did recruiting for more than 40 years, filled a lot of positions throughout the United States and Canada. I think it was more than 1,200 full-time positions plus consulting assignments before I left recruiting and went into job search coaching. So when recruiters are sending a message, when I would send a message is I was trying to save time. Because especially these days, it's hard to reach people directly by phone unless you're in their phone. So you're leaving a message, waiting for a call back. You're playing a lot of tag back and forth. It's easier to send a message to verify certain details. So for example, I may have seen something that makes me question a part of their background relevant for the job. I would send a question about that skill. I'd want to know what their current and desired compensation was, their legal right to work in the United States. And if there's a different question to ask now, at the time that I did recruiting, I was legally allowed to ask, what is your legal right to work in the United States? Geographic preferences. It saves time so that we're not going back and forth. These days, if I did recruiting, I might send my scheduling app to someone and ask for 10 minutes of time with them. I might do the same thing with sending them an email to clarify things and then schedule the first conversation with them afterwards to confirm that they were not a sociopath. And I know that's a funny way of expressing it, but there were some crazy people I spoke to who had great backgrounds, and I knew some of my clients wouldn't tolerate their behavior. So it's a time saver. They collect the data, they can import it into their applicant tracking system easily because it's in text form, and thus be able to know whether or not they should continue and have an actual conversation with you. Okay? I've got more. Is it common for recruiters to conduct job interviews before hiring someone? Huh? I'm going to think of this as being corporate recruiters to conduct interviews before hiring someone. Okay. So, yes. And the reason is they are a filtering device. They are a way that a company can save time and reject people who on paper may read well, but for some reason aren't actually qualified to do the job. So often a corporate recruiter or screener, as I often think of them, is they're kind of like the, imagine for a second the gold rush days in California where people were sitting by the screen with a pan and a screen there, and they'd lower the screen into the water and they try and see if there's any gold there. Excuse me. Well, screeners are there to let the crud go through and to keep the gold on top, or at least something that resembles gold, so that way the person can be referred to the hiring manager who goes into more depth and determines whether this is someone who they'd actually like to meet with. Because as you know, so many of these conversations go on by phone and Zoom these days. So everyone wants to save time so that they're not wasting time that would not be productive for them. So the long and the short of it is they do it as a time saver. They want to see whether or not you say or do something that would make them want to reject you. And then from there, refer you to a hiring manager, knowing that you've checked the boxes on basic things, can string a couple of sentences together, and from there, they feel comfortable about referring you to a hiring manager. Okay? So again, if you've got a question for me about your job search, put your question in the chat so I can answer it live. Also, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/thebiggamehunter. Mention that you saw this. I like knowing I'm helping some folks. Once we're connected, your network is going to be a lot larger. And I'll also remind you, JobSearch.Community. I have free content on the homepage. Scroll down, click the button that says Become an Insider after you listen to No BS Job Search Advice Radio, so that this way you can get the coupon code for having listened to the show. Again, it's only 3.5 minutes long. You can hear me wax poetic about this being the final episode of the podcast, episode 3000, and be able to get half off on any of the tiers of service if you were to join. So right now, my least expensive tier is $49. That takes it down to $25. That coupon is only going to be working until July 16th, I believe it is, 2024 at midnight. So again, listen to the show, get the coupon code, let me help you, okay? I've got another question. What can I do to recover my LinkedIn access? Let me click on that so it shows on the screen. You may be like a lot of people who tied their LinkedIn account to their corporate account and now their company account, and now doesn't work at that company anymore. So you can't log in because you don't have access to the account for two-factor authentication. So what you have to do is, now that you're locked out, contact LinkedIn support. Now, on the homepage of LinkedIn, assuming you can't get in, scroll down to the bottom and look for the help function and contact them and say, I'm locked out of my account. I changed jobs. My email address related to my employer, I don't work there anymore, and I want to log in. How can I do that? they'll do something to help you here and get you on board. I haven't had that experience, so I can't speak firsthand about it. I just know it's a common occurrence, unfortunately, where people lose their jobs, their LinkedIn URL tied to their employer, and now they can't get in. I've got, I think, 3 more questions today. What do? I just got rejected because I was too bright, but most places won't even bother with an interview because they don't think I have experience. Like, what's up with that? That's interesting. It seems like my question didn't wind up going to Facebook because I got an error. But let me just work with answering this question. So let me start with part 2. They don't think you have experience. You may not have experience or the right experience for them to be able to want to consider you. And the result winds up being that you wind up being in a situation where they're not able to, they don't want to consider you for the simple reason that you're not qualified. So if someone rejects you because you're too bright, I think that translates into you're inexperienced. They think you'll be bored. So too bright is one of those euphemisms for smart, and they've got a job for a dullard, and they're trying to be respectful of you because they think you'll hate the job because it's one of those tedious, repetitive roles that they think you'll just go bonkers with. That's how I would interpret their response, okay? Let's see. 2 more questions now. Oh, yeah, this was a fun one. Bear with me. I just want to copy this and put it in the chat. What are some common ways for recruiters to end phone interviews? Well, here's one. We'll be back in touch with you if we're interested. Not real good, because who's to say if they're interested? They're basically saying, don't call us, we'll call you if we're interested. Then there's the, I have a few more people on my calendar. I expect I'll be in touch with you early part of next week. There's also, hey, thanks so much for making time. I'll be in touch. Or thanks for making time today. I'll be in contact with next steps. There's lots of variations on all of these, but I know from my own experience, most of them translated into, I'll be in touch if I have something for you, or I'll be in touch if we're interested in going to a next step. And the reason for that is most of you aren't qualified for the positions that you've submitted a resume for. It's just the way it is. Statistics have told me that when I did recruiting. So many people I would screen were awful, unqualified, not capable of stringing a couple of sentences together, all sorts of reasons why they got rejected. But the long and the short of it is, those are among the reasons why people get rejected. Or not that, but those are among the ways the recruiters let people down easily. And then there's the, what'd you waste my time for type of answer, okay? Final question for today. I knew this was going to be a little bit shorter. And if you're here lurking, come join me. I'll answer your questions, okay? Other than social media and resumes, are there any background check companies can perform? Are there any background checks companies can perform, legal or otherwise, before the first job interview with a candidate? There are lots of ways, but they cost them money. And they're not going to do that for the sake of it. So a lot of people will use social media, LinkedIn in particular, or Google, to see what they can find out about you in advance. On LinkedIn, they're looking for congruence between what you say on LinkedIn and what your resume says. That's it. because some people's resumes and LinkedIn profiles are not consistent with one another. In terms of illegal background checks, no, they're not going to spend the money. You think they're going to send $50 off every time they want to have someone background check to figure out whether or not they should talk to you? They're not going to do that. So stop being so paranoid. They'll do the background check if they're interested in hiring you, not before, because they don't want to hire a fraud, someone who's deceptive, has a criminal background, has financial problems, all that stuff that I mentioned at a previous question. They'll deal with that at the time they're prepared to make an offer, not before, because they don't want to spend that money. Okay, so I do hope you found today's show helpful. I'll be back next Tuesday, July 9th, with more. I'm Jeff Altman. Visit my website, JobSearch.Community, where I've got video courses, books, and guides, both free and when you become an insider, that will help you find more work more quickly. If you become an insider at any of the levels of service, what I'm able to do is provide personalized coaching for you to help you land your next job more quickly. After all, there's no reason to learn on the job or off the job, as the case might be, how to find the job. That's what I do. I help people find their next job more quickly. As I say, people hire me for no BS job search coaching and career advice globally because they make the process of finding work and succeeding at it much easier. So again, that's at JobSearch.Community. Connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/thebiggamehunter. Mention that you saw this, please. And lastly, I hope you have a wonderful July 4th if you're in the U.S. Or a U.S. citizen outside the U.S. I hope you have a terrific day. And most importantly, be great. Take care.